Cool. Hey, everyone, if you're watching this, don't worry, you haven't gone mad. We're just doing a quick tech prep a tech test for the event on Thursday. There is going to be some interesting stuff in it potentially because we're going to talk about a lot of the feedback we've had in advance of the event. So we've just been seeking out people's opinions, and we also just want to try putting a video through this to see if YouTube objects to the copyright of the music. So we'll see how that goes. We're just trying to cover all the eventualities basically. So obviously, the event is on the 23rd. Today's Tuesday. We'll probably delete this video straight after the event's actually gone out. So, yeah, in kind of preparation for the event, we've just been seeking out loads of people's opinions about this kind of question of the ethics of gatekeeping. And we had a very wide range of answers. So we went kind of sought people out who'd been housing officers or who are housing officers, who work in the charity sector or who'd been homeless, among other random people as well. And I guess broadly speaking, I mean, the people we asked were probably they're always likely to be essentially, not in favour of gatekeeping and not particularly understanding of it for various reasons. Although I was interested, some people who've been gatekept were actually very reasonable about, the fact that the pressure the housing officers are under. So yeah, as I say, I was surprised on a number of levels. Some of the feedback we got was kind of very interesting in terms of saying that actually we shouldn't even really talk about ethics with gatekeeping. It should be enough that it's illegal in itself, and that should be the end of the discussion. Which would make a very short event on Thursday, so we might have to go a bit further than that. But that's kind of the idea. And yeah, just kind of a range of other people really. People, housing officers who wanted to do the job because they wanted to help people and the pressure they're under. And then just some very real accounts of what happened to people when they were homeless and they needed to, get some assistance off the council and they didn't. So yeah, it's been helpful. Certainly, my head certainly moved on. So when I kind of wanted to do the event, I thought that if housing officers stopped gatekeeping, then if they were motivated to do it, if they kind of tried not to do it and kind of got organised, then they would potentially be successful in kind of ending it. I probably progressed a little bit from that now to think that actually the voluntary sector and members of the public need to put pressure on housing officers to then put pressure on their bosses to then put pressure on local government and central government. So, but yeah, I don't know, Shannon, were you kind of? I mean, you've seen the kind of research. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you particularly?
Think I was quite surprised how many people spoke about what it meant for like bigger picture stuff. And I think like for me, I was expecting everyone to sort of talk about their individual experiences, whether that be as a housing officer or as someone who's been gate kept, and to sort of talk about those stories. But I think a lot of people, like you said, sort of talked about the bigger picture, talked about the knock-on effects that gatekeeping has, the hidden sort of effects that gatekeeping has, not just sort of the obvious trauma of being gate kept and being left homeless and what have you. They were talking about house prices and property building and local plans. And so it was quite interesting from that point of view that actually perhaps it is that open secret because everyone seems to know about it enough to know that it has a wider impact on public health services. It's all sort of, has this knock-on effect. So I was quite surprised by that. But it was interesting. It was good to hear those sorts of sides.
Yeah, and so I mean, as I say, there was a real kind of range of answers. Some people got annoyed that I asked them the question, but that's cool. I kind of knew that would happen. But certainly, the people who I sought out, who I knew had been gate kept, for me, they reassured me that we were right to have this event. Because in one sense, there is a danger that we kind of make housing officers' lives even harder than they already are by kind of throwing this stuff out there. But it's easy for me to say this is not a housing officer, I guess, but for me, I think it's an important discussion, and I think it was interesting as well, like how some people who I thought would know what gatekeeping was really didn't know. People who worked in the sector for many years, and they were like, "What's gatekeeping? What do you mean it's an open secret?" But I think certainly the responses are pretty much everyone knew about it, and everyone kind of knew what it was, what the reality was for people making homeless applications and being prevented from that. So I think in terms of for those who are kind of going to be watching on Thursday, the rough agenda of the night is, so we've got me, Shannon, a friend of ours called Marnie, who's a former kind of local authority housing manager, And then we've got three lawyers. So we've got Professor Luke Clements, he's his speciality really is adult social care. But he's written, the reason we asked him to be part of it. He's written an amazing book called Clustered Injustice and the Level Green, and that's basically all about how bureaucracies fail to achieve what they were set up to do, in a very accessible way. So I think so. He's on there, and I don't know, he's semi-retired now or something. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's worked on some very important cases around discrimination and kind of that sort of stuff. Um, so we're gonna hear from him about why it's even called injustice. Charities. If you listen to charities, they'll kind of put out this message that it's all about mercy. It's all about these people who they need a second chance, and we need to be really nice to them. And actually, when you look at it from a point of view of injustice, it's like, nah, people need a first chance. This is a group of people who haven't had a first chance yet at actually having a safe and suitable home. And we need to we need to make sure that they have access to those rights. We're going to ask the panelists, whether we can talk about this as a civil rights issue. We're going to ask particularly Luke about whether it's a safeguarding issue. That is to say, if a housing officer, gatekeeps someone, whether actually it's appropriate to raise a safeguarding alert. I think technically the answer to that is no in the straightforward sense, but we're going to find out. And we're also going to ask the panelists whether it's a criminal offence. So again, it's predominantly at the lawyers because it's a very technical question, but whether it's technically a crime to knowingly or recklessly not follow the law and leave someone homeless. So that could kind of lead to some interesting discussions or some interesting answers. We've got Sarah Steinhard, who's you might have seen on our channel already. She's done a couple of events with us so far. Doughty Street Chambers barrister, really just so good. She's been really generous with the time with me over the years because as a lay person trying to get my head around the law, and you read the code of guidance and you go to a local authority and they tell you that your understanding is totally wrong. It's good to hear from a lawyer that actually you're right and it's the local authority that's a problem. And then we've got Giles Peaker, who you may well know from the Nearly Legal blog. So, I mean, we've had some very good panels before. This is a really good panel, really good people, and I think we're just going to make the most of having that kind of group of people just to ask these questions to. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I think that's yeah. We're going to talk about what gatekeeping actually is. Whether it's a crime or that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about. Luke's going to talk about why it's an issue of injustice, and we're going to then get on to essentially we're going to try our level best to do justice to the position that housing officers find themselves in, which is not easy. I think, as I say, all six of us probably lean towards sympathising with someone who's being gatekept more than the housing officer. But I think we all acknowledge that it's a very, very difficult. It's an impossible job to do. It's an impossible position to be put in, where your boss is basically telling you to break the law, and it's kind of almost industry standard that you'll be asked to break the law. And then we're going to try to do justice to the experience people have who are being gatekept and talk about the impact it has on people and the impact it has on wider society. So that's a loose plan. Shannon, have I missed anything or kind of anything else that would be good for people to know in advance of the event?
I don't think so. I think what I would say, and selfishly, what I get from a lot of these panel events is just like ask loads of questions. We'll do our best to keep an eye on a chat and try and sort of ask those questions to other panel members, but just be inquisitive. There's not going to be a stupid question because I don't know whether like how much this has been discussed anyway in the sector, and I think it's interesting, like the fact that we've even started thinking about, oh, is it safeguarding, is it injustice, or what have you? It's almost like we're trying to reframe gatekeeping and trying to sell it more as an issue because no one currently cares, or that's what it feels like. I'm sure obviously people do care, we care, but safeguarding, everyone is on board with safeguarding. That's you don't need to sell that. Everyone's already sold. So I think it's interesting, this sort of potential reframing of the issue, or just if we discuss it more, what will happen. So bring questions along, and like I don't know, I screenshot when I'm like, oh, they've said a good bit. I'm like, right, screenshot so I know which time to go back to it, because again, I'm not one of those people that sort of gets everything the first time round. So hopefully the video will be useful in terms of like revisiting it, um, and sharing it with managers that potentially might be interested in learning more about the issue. But I don't think there's anything else really people need to know apart from
Yeah.
hopefully enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. There's a couple of questions. Yeah, I mean, we are going to keep a genuine eye on the live stream chat just to see what's coming in. So, and hopefully we'll have enough time to kind of put some of those questions to them. I've been watching a really interesting YouTube channel at the moment called The Art of Law or Art of Law or something. It's by a guy called Alan Robert Shaw. He's a barrister of some description, and he kind of does like random sort of questions about the law, not about housing law, but about everything. And there's a couple of videos which are really interesting, and I might talk about them now because there won't be time to talk about them on Thursday in any detail. But he does a video called "What is Critical Race Theory?" And he basically says the term critical race theory comes from a legal term, which I assume is called critical theory, and it's basically where let's say the penalty for speeding is £60, and you're a billionaire. You can employ someone to literally manage paying all those fines off, so you can effectively go as fast as you possibly want to, and just keep paying fines, and it doesn't make any difference to you. And so, critical theory says, well, the law might say it's x mile an hour on the limit on the road, but if you can actually go as fast as you want and not get fined, then actually, is there a law at all? And it also kind of gives the same example of speeding as well, where it says, in England, the speed limit on the motorway is 70 miles an hour, but unless you're going 81 or 82, you're not going to get stopped by anyone. The cameras just won't kick in. So again, what is the speed limit? Is it 70 or is it 81 or 82? So with that, the question for local authorities is, if it is cheaper to get caught gatekeeping than it is to house people the first time, then what is the law? What is the law? Follow the law, or is it actually just don't follow the law and just pay the penalty when you get caught not following the law? So that's an interesting bit. And there's also, he did a video on private prosecutions, and he makes out like it's really straightforward just to get a private prosecution. So if gatekeeping is a criminal offence, and if it is, it'll be something like misconduct in a public office or misfeasance in a public office or something like that. If it is a criminal offence, and we're going to find out on Thursday whether it is or not, because I don't actually know, but if it is, then it would actually be plausible to then start taking housing officers who are gatekeeping and prosecuting them. So as I say, we don't know what the answer is going to be. We don't know how that's going to lead to. But for me, those are sort of two things I want to make sure I certainly ask in that event. Unless we've got anything else to say, Shannon, we're going to just try the video. We're a bit concerned that because it's got music in it, we're a bit concerned that YouTube's going to pick up on it as a sound, as a copyright infringement, and cancel the whole thing. So we just want to see what happens if we play it.
It is also a draft version of the video. There are still edits to be made.
Yeah. So it's just you'll see it in a second. So I'm just going to share it, and then Shannon, if we just say something after the end of it, just to make sure we're not kicked off or anything, and then we'll call it a day. So let me get it up. I need to be a bit slicker than this on Thursday, but I'm sure I will be. Right, share sound, yes. Optimize the video clip, yes. Let's do it. Hey, all right, Shannon, can you hear me all right?
I can indeed, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good. Okay, well, we're going to play back just to see what I heard, and I also have a lot to worry about on Thursday in terms of turning videos off and stuff. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, anyone who just watch that will get an idea of like what we've tried to do there in terms of just gathering kind of feedback we've had so far. I mean, it probably is too late to give us feedback now for this event, but more and more I'm thinking this is just going to be part of a conversation that's going to keep going. If it's not going to be definitive, I think we're going to have further questions to kind of come out of the event. But I'm certainly hoping that it gets people's interest. So yeah, I mean, between now and Thursday, as in between now and the 23rd of November, if you want to share the event with anyone, please do. It's on Eventbrite, or if you just tune into the YouTube channel at 7:30, it'll be on live. So you can do it that way. But yeah, Shannon, do we need to do anything else in terms of tests for Thursday, or are we pretty much good? Do you reckon?
Think we're pretty much good. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the kind viewers on YouTube will bear with us if we're not on the night. So
Yeah, cool. All right, let me end the live stream.